All right, what's going on, guys? Wally here, and I want to follow up with another follow-up. Doing follow-ups. But today I want to talk about the current gen versus last generation thing, and I kind of want to clear the air a little bit and get my thoughts on it a little bit more coherent, because I feel like I did a semi-poor job of explaining where I came from on that issue. So I want to go ahead and, again, state this disclaimer one more time. I am not against the individuals who still play on last gen. It's not personal. It's not like I think that you are a fool for playing on that or why can't you upgrade. It's nothing like that. I just personally think that the last generation is causing core problems with current gen development. And especially when you're trying to develop for multi-platform games, when you're trying to attempt for the highest fidelity and graphical and processing power, some of this stuff cannot be done on 7-year-old tech. So just to sort of go into this a little bit more, the PlayStation 3 released for about $500, and you could buy the 60 gig version for $600. The Xbox 360 released for about $400, and then I think there was like a core version for like $350 or something like that. And this was back almost 7 years ago, give or take. And maybe like 5 years ago. I'm not 100% sure, but it was sometime. It was enough time really to be like, well, okay, I grew as a person. That's how much time there was. And the core argument now is that people are looking at those prices, which are almost identical to the current prices on release. So when you bought a 360 and when you look at the current price of Xbox One, they've essentially switched places, at least at launch. The original Xbox One was $500, PlayStation 4 was $400. So they essentially switched spots. And people today are complaining about the fact that they cannot upgrade financially, right? And I know there's a lot of other reasons too out there that why people want to upgrade, but the main issue that I'm more curious in and more interested in understanding is the financial side. Now, I understand that this is more of a point of social economics. This comes to your demographics, specifically where you live, how much money you have, if you have a job or not, so on and so forth. This all plays a factor. So people who live in high wealth areas obviously aren't going to have an issue with this because either mommy and daddy are going to take care of them or they have some kind of job that pays well, so on and so forth. Individuals who don't live in high-end areas, potentially middle class and lower class, which there are an abundance of in the United States, they're going to be in that market where you're maybe below the poverty line in terms, I think it's like $11,000 or $12,000 is the poverty line for the United States. And yeah, I can understand at that point, you can't afford to upgrade. I get that. The other argument is you have a more expansive library on the 360 and the PS3, and then that library does not transfer with the new gen or the current generation. And if you wanted to transfer, you would still lose out on some games. And I get that too. I think that though the library argument is more niche than anything, I don't think that there's an abundance of people who are like, yeah, I'm still playing Little Big Planet or something. I think that's a poor example. I think people are still playing that. And I also think that title goes to PS4. But just an example, right? There's not people out there that are complaining about Nintendo now that went to the Wii from the GameCube. Or when people are still playing the N64, it's not like they're still playing the N64 because they can't afford to upgrade to the Wii. They're still playing the N64 because they enjoy the games on that. At least that's what I like to think. Maybe they honestly can't afford to upgrade to the Wii, even though I'm pretty sure the Wii is under $100. So the core concept here is, and this is going to sound like true asshole, and I just want to clarify that I'm not trying to go for that. But my question is if you can't afford to upgrade, and I get that from a job standpoint, from just it being rough out there, I get that. Why are the individuals that can't afford to upgrade being penalized by your lack of monetary funding? That's my question. And I know that comes off as like, well, this person has and you don't. Why are the people who have affected by the individuals who don't have? And it's a hard argument because it's not as simple as saying, fuck those guys, you can't upgrade, good luck. Because the way I like to believe it is there's a certain concept here that it's not like that. It's not like a dog-eat-dog world. In some ways it is, but social Darwinism, I think, applies to your pocketbook in some respect as well. So a piece of me wants to say, I don't know what you want me to say to you if you can't upgrade. But another piece of me wants to say, like, I want to understand what's going on. Like, how can we get you to upgrade? What is it going to take so that you can enjoy this experience with us? And it's difficult to just sit there and say it's cut and dry, because at the very top level, it is cut and dry. It's simply the people who can afford it and the people who can't. That is as cut and dry as you can get. But when you dive into it a little bit deeper, you understand that it's not that simple. It's not really just like, hey, this person can do it, this person can't. There's a lot of issues involved. Maybe someone's parents have cancer, or they're going through a really tough time, or they're trying to buy a house, or maybe they're buying a car, and buying the Xbox or the new PlayStation isn't on their core list of priorities, but buying that house and providing for their family is. But they still want to enjoy video games. And who am I to say, really, like, well, sorry, but I don't have a family. And thankfully, I've been blessed so far with good health that I don't have to worry about going to the hospital all the time. So fuck you, and, you know, you don't get to play, that kind of thing. Like, that is not, you can't just make that argument. So that's the core problem that I have with sort of the statements like that. And that's why I never really delve into, like, going after people in comment sections, even if they come at me and they're like, well, yeah, I can't afford it, you're an asshole kind of thing, you come off as a snob. Like, okay, yeah, I probably do, and I apologize for that. That's not what I'm going for. I'm not trying to tell you that if you don't upgrade, you're going to miss out. I'm trying to just put that argument on the plate, that if it's a discussion that I think the gaming community needs to have, I think people need to be transparent about it. But I also think, to a certain respect, that the financial argument isn't going to fly forever. There's going to be a certain point where that's going to get diminishing returns. And while I necessarily stand somewhat corrected on my position in terms of just understanding demographics and socioeconomics in terms of where people are at, I still don't think everyone's going to be as receptive. And I think, for example, the industry is not going to care, because at a point there's going to be a transitional period, which I think we've already reached that apex, where people are going to be playing more on the current generation than they are on the last generation, and then they're going to realize that they're going to lose out on their bottom line by developing for that last generation. And if gamers are already talking about it now, and sort of the questions are coming up being like, hey, I don't agree with this, I don't think you should develop on the last gen because I want the best experience possible, that conversation is definitely going on with developers and publishers. So again, I think that it's a good conversation to have. Personally, I can't tell you how to spend your money, and I wouldn't sit there and say that if you can't afford it, somehow I'm a better person because I can't afford it. Money does not define a person, how cool you are, or who you are as an individual. But it's one of those things. Maybe the community, as a solution, starts looking at those who are affected the most, those who just can't afford it. Maybe this kid, his parents have cancer, or they're trying to buy a house, or he's trying to provide for like 5 kids or something, right? How do we as a community come together to see them upgrade for Destiny 2 if Destiny 2 isn't going to be on both platforms? Maybe it's just on the Xbox One and PlayStation and maybe the PC. I don't know. It's stuff to think about. Again, I just wanted to kind of clear that a little bit more, get a little bit more in depth and kind of talk about it, not trying to go after people. Again, because I know what it's like not being able to afford stuff. I for sure get that. And I know what it's like to lose out in your library of games. I've lost an iPod with a fantastic music library on it, and that would suck. Although that's not really comparable to losing out on some of the classic games, it is somewhat comparable. So yeah, those are my thoughts. What do you guys think? Is there a solution? Is there not a solution? Should people just save their money? Maybe we should come together as a community to try to figure out a way to help the most afflicted. Something, right? What are the solutions? Do you agree with the problem? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Hope you guys are having a good day, and I will see you all later. Peace.